Hey guys, it's Nikki. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about why I don't mark my books and why that might actually be beneficial if you don't. So I know there's been a lot of discussion before about the benefits of actually writing in and highlighting in and annotating your books, and those are all really great. I'm actually just getting into tabbing my books, although it's a little weird because, like, for example, this is a library book and I mean, I'm gonna take all of these out before I return it, but it is useful for me in case I want to review it or just write things down. But in general, I just don't write in my books ever. And I know a lot of people argue that your books aren't made to just sit there, they should be well loved. I just can't. It physically hurts me to do that to my books. This is The Edge of Always by J.A. Redmerski. It is the sequel to The Edge of Never. As you can see, I highlighted a passage. It felt awful. I have done it one more time with a copy of Great Expectations for school, and even though I was not emotionally attached to that book, it still felt pretty awful. A lot of people say that writing in your books is kind of like a message to yourself in the future, so when you're reading it again, you can look back on what you've written and what you were thinking and feeling and experience that all over again, or maybe add new thoughts, and it's like a conversation with yourself, which is pretty dope. But that wouldn't work for me because, this is probably gonna sound weird, but I don't reread books yet. There's two books that I've read more than once. The first is The Giver. I've read that 3 times, but 2 of those times were for school, so. The other book that I've read more than once is Stargirl by Jerry Spinelli. I just remember being very emotionally attached to it in 6th grade, so I read it again when I was, I don't know, probably out of high school actually. After my reading goal for this year is completed, which I hope to do before June is over actually, I was going to try to reread some of my favorite books. Because I have a horrible memory. I forget things very easily. My biggest fear has always been not having the same feelings as I did the first time I read it, and so the experience is just not going to be the same. But the more I think about it, it's a good thing because you get a new experience out of it. And also, my memory is so horrible, who's to say I won't feel the same anyway? But I feel like even if I did write notes in my books and highlight them, when I go to reread them, I would still not appreciate all of that in my books. And I know this because another point that has been brought up is that when you pass these books along, the people who get them can see what you thought, what you've been feeling, and it'll be kind of cool for them to experience. And honestly, if that happened to me, I'd be livid. And I know this because when I get books that are written in, this commonly happens with like school books, or used to happen with school books, that you get the books for classes and somebody from the year before you has written in it, and it's like, it honestly irritates me. It just distracts me from the whole experience. I can't focus, and I just don't like seeing that. It also happens sometimes with library books, and again, that's just very distracting for me. So as you can see, it's just not for me. It's cool if you like to do it, that's fine, but I personally don't. And I know I'm not the only one out there who doesn't like to write in their books, and here's what you can do with that. I highly, highly, highly encourage you guys to donate your books. I donate mine to the library. In fact, just last week I took a big pile, like this big, of books over to my local library, and I donated all of them. The thing is, with the library, they accept books under certain guidelines. Another thing that I like to do, and I know that this doesn't apply to everywhere in the US, is that sometimes I like to bring my books to Book Off. That is a Japanese bookstore that we have in Manhattan. I know there are locations in California as well, probably Hawaii, and Japan, of course. They do buy back books, so if I wanted to, and I have done a couple of times, I could just bring some books over to them. Those you definitely have to have in good condition, so if I wrote in any of my books or highlighted them, they wouldn't take it because they do look through them before they give you a price. I don't always bring my books to Book Off to sell them because they give you a very, 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 very low price for your books, and I really do believe in supporting my local library, so I try to bring them to the library more often. In general, if you wanted to sell your books and not just give them away to your friends who might not mind that you've written in them already, writing in them may decrease the value a bit. So that's just something you can keep in mind. But like I said before, I highly, highly recommend donating to your local library if you are able to do so. I know there are 3 library systems within New York City. I have library cards to 2 of them, but I'll get into that in my library video whenever I do that. I think they each have different guidelines for it. As of now, I've only donated to one system because it's the one I use most frequently, and your local library may have a different set of guidelines for taking books. They may be okay with taking books that are written in. Another thing that you could do that I have not done yet, but I would really like to, is maybe there are, hospitals you could bring it to, or your local schools. I think that's a great idea, actually. I would love to do that. I should look into that. I guess the message here is, if you're like me and you don't write in your books and at some point you want to give them away, really consider donating to your local library. I just love the library so much. Maybe for some book drives. I just think it's really important to give back. So that's it for today's video. Let me know in the comments below what you guys do with your books. Do you write in them? Do you just leave them alone, never touch them? I would love to hear what you guys think, so let me know, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.